have you watched the new Michael movie? Man, it's crazy. I love it so much and my friends love it. And you know, there was this crazy scene of, bro, are you even listening to me?
wait.
Listen to me.
Just one more.
Have you ever been on your phone and started watching something and then it becomes a crazy cycle of just one more scroll and one more tap?
Are you talking about me?
Yes, that never-ending cycle is what we're going to be talking about today. I'm Em.
And I'm Jay.
And you're watching The
Point of Youth,
where we talk about stuff youth are actually dealing with, but don't always say out loud.
a space where your voice, your experience, and your point of view actually matter.
But before we get into talking about this never-ending cycle, let's get a bit of
Statistic, yep.
Alright, shoot.
Okay, what is the average daily social media use of an adolescent?
Okay, see.
Okay, wait, I'll give you options. You guys know what to do. Okay, option A, 1 to 3 hours. Okay. Option 2, 3 to 7 hours. And option 3, 8 to 10 hours.
It's 8 to 10 hours. You know why? I'm telling you. Because she always does this to me, okay? It's always the highest number. And that comment who told us in last video, thank you for everything. It's 8 to 10 hours.
No, it's actually 3 to 7 hours. Thank God it's not that bad yet.
I mean, yeah, 3 to 7 hours is still kind of a lot,
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay?
Yeah.
So, up to what percentage of adolescents are showing signs of social media addiction? Okay, option 1, 25 to 40, or like 50 to 65, or 70 to 80.
So we all know that she never keeps the first option as the right answer. So it's of course not that. I go with the second option because people's moms will be after them,
No, it's actually 25 to 40. Okay, last one, okay? What percentage of adolescents report negative outcomes like sleep disturbance, anxiety symptoms, and even mood changes because of social media addiction?
I wouldn't think that many of them have problems with it. Like, give me options.
Okay, so your first option is 22, 25, or 33.
See, okay? It's 25, I think so.
Nah, bro, it's 33, which is honestly way more than I even expected.
Yeah, but I don't get it. Why does this happen? Why are we keep on scrolling even though we know it's not going to make us feel better?
Exactly, and why does social media have to be so addictive?
So, to figure that out, we spoke to an expert to help us understand this better.
Dopamine is sort of like an anticipatory hormone. It's a chemical neurotransmitter, chemical hormone in the body that anticipates or expects a reward. The happy hormone in the body is called serotonin. So what dopamine does is, let's take an example of you smell some good food. So you smell some good food, your dopamine rises. In anticipation, once the dopamine rises and you taste the food, if you really like that food, it's beyond your expectation, the dopamine spikes even further. Once the dopamine spikes, your body remembers this at the memory stored in your brain. So the next time you sort of encounter this particular food, your dopamine level will rise. And let's just think of a slot machine in a casino. Imagine if you were to pull a slot machine, every time you put a coin, if you pull a lever and you won. Over time, the excitement would die off, and then no longer would there be any dopamine surge, and you would get bored playing it. Now take this example to social media. Every time you go on social media, there's a dopamine spike. The spike is because you are expecting something, maybe the next viral reel or some exciting notification or some trending videos. And so the uncertainty of what is to come causes the dopamine to spike. Now imagine if once that reality is met or once you've watched what you wanted to watch, the dopamine tends to fall down again. Once the dopamine falls again, the brain sort of perceives this fall in dopamine and tries to spike up again or tries to rise again in anticipation, because dopamine is an anticipatory hormone. That's causing us to continually go online, continually scroll, something that we call as zombie scrolling or doom scrolling, endlessly scrolling for the next spike in dopamine. Social media tends to cause a lot of addiction with this dopamine spike, and it tends to affect adolescents far more because the emotional maturity center of adolescence develops years before the rational thinking center, and therefore adolescents are far more prone to this form of addiction in social media. This constant spike in hormones or this rise in dopamine followed followed by the dip once you get what you want, and then the need for it to spike again because of this constant anticipation to want something more, to want something exciting, results in a lot of mess in hormones in the body. It also causes serotonin, which is the happy hormone, to get affected. Watching or scrolling in the night affects the sleep hormone, which is melatonin. Because of a lot of sort of bad or negative news that is there on social media, cortisol tends to spike, which is the stress hormone. End result is that often people who watch a lot of media tend to get anxious, tend to get irritable, often tend to be depressed, tend to be agitated, alone, withdrawn from society. And because a lot of our interaction is on social media and not with actual people, the bonding hormone, which is oxytocin, is sort of very low or is almost virtually absent. And thus, we find youngsters today find themselves socially isolated from people, isolated from society, isolated from any form of relationships. And generally, the hormones are in a mess and they are more irritable and more withdrawn than other people. So some tips that I could suggest that maybe could help us overcome this addiction or this this constant need for this spike of dopamine. First thing is, we could consider turning our phone to grayscale. However difficult it is, color constantly stimulates our brain, and turning it to grayscale or black and white mode will make us lose interest fast in what we are endlessly scrolling. The next thing is to try to charge our phones outside our room. Another would be to turn off our phones at least an hour, preferably media, or an hour before we sleep, because it has to interfere with melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, and thus affects our entire cycle. Consider logging out of apps, because if you just close them, you are far more prone to open them again versus logging out of them. You could try to keep your phone away from meals, during meals, and maybe even during social outings, because that constant anxiety and that urge to check your phone is not there. Try to maybe take the help of a friend to put a screen lock or a lock for your password after particular times, so that you're not prone to constantly going to check your phone. Try to engage in activities that counter this dopamine energy rise. So it could be like playing a sport, or running, cycling, or hitting the gym, or engaging in activities like cooking, or maybe playing an instrument, or anything to do with your fingers that encourage you to counter this nervous sort of dopamine energy or spike that consistently or continuously keeps coming up. Consider reading a book, because often our attention span has become so limited because of social media that just practicing by reading a book little by little, chapter by chapter, helps us build our attention span. And finally, we could really make the effort to meet up with people. Just go out, hang out for maybe a cup of coffee, or just a walk in the garden, because again, meeting people or interacting with people helps improve or increase our oxytocin levels, which is our bonding hormone, which really helps us get more connected in society.
Man, wasn't that just eye-opening?
Yeah.
So basically, dopamine itself isn't bad. It's just about what we train our brains to chase.
Exactly. Like, if we reward ourselves by scrolling one more time, then we'll feel like scrolling again and again. But if we build better habits, like maybe playing a sport, then our brain will start craving those things.
So maybe the goal isn't just using your phone less, but to spend more time on things that actually leave you feeling fulfilled.
And honestly, it starts small. Maybe taking a break, or maybe, setting boundaries and being intentional about what gets your attention.
Because the same brain that gets trapped into unhealthy loops can also build healthy ones.
Yeah, that's so cool, right? And that's how we move from endlessly scrolling through life to actually living life, man.
And now it's time for Spin the Wheel!
Every week, we spin the wheel, and whatever it lands on is your challenge for the week. And this week's task is...
So give it a try and come back next week and tell us in the comments what actually happened.
And also comment below what's one thing outside of social media that gives you a genuine sense of reward. We really, really want to hear your answers.
Anyway, I'm Em.
And I'm Jay.
And you're listening to
Point of Youth,
where your voice, your story, and your point of view actually matter.
See you next week.
Okay.
We should switch it up, right?
That's fine.